this moment we want now to look at we want to talk about about the cell. We know that living organisms are made up of cells, and cells are the smallest basic units of life. Cells, being the smallest of the organisms, they are very important, and it's really very important for us to know how the cells look like, the component of cells. So before we start, we shall look at the cells, the animal cells, and then also look at the plant cell. We shall talk about the differences between the plant cells and the animal cells, and then we shall talk about the functions of the different parts of the cell. Now, when you look at a cell is the smallest unit of an organism, as we have said earlier, which carry out all the life processes, and it is the basic unit of life. So it is really very important. Now, when you look at the animal cells, the animal cell is circular. It is not circular as such, but it is shapeless. It does not have a particular shape, and it has a nucleus, it has a cell membrane, and then the cytoplasm. With the cytoplasm, where we find the mitochondria, we find the golgi bodies, we find many other components in the human cell. And then the plant cell, it's a little bit rectangular. It has a shape, and it has a nucleus, it has a cell vacuole in the middle, it has mitochondria, it has chloroplasts, and it has a cell membrane. At the same time, it has a cell wall. Those are the two types of cells that we have, the animal cells and the plant cells. We have said that the cell is the basic unit of life, and it is the smallest unit of an organism, which carries out almost all the life processes. Now, what are some of the differences? We want now to look at the differences between the plant cell and the animal cell. You will find that the plant cell has got chloroplasts, whereas the chloroplast is absent in the animal cell. The plant cell has a cell vacuole, which is not present in the animal cell. It has a cellulose cell wall, whereas the animals have a cell membrane, not a cell wall, but they have a cell membrane. They have the plant cells have a middle lamella, which is absent in the animals. Plant cells have starch granules, which are absent in animals. So you find that most of these substances or materials are absent in the animal cells. We don't have a cell wall, we don't have starch granules, we don't have middle lamina, we don't have cell vacuole, there is no chloroplasts. Those are the major differences between the plant and animal cells. Now we want to look into detail about the organisms or the components of a cell. All cells have a cell membrane, and the cell membrane is always very important to the cell, because it is the one that allows the material exchange, like water, like oxygen and waste products, exchange between the outside and the inside of the cell. It is the cell membrane, and it also binds the protoplasm. It holds the protoplasm together, and the protoplasm is the one that includes the cytoplasm and then the other materials that are found in the cytoplasm. And then it also acts as a protective membrane. It protects the cell from the outside body. That is a cell membrane. Then we have the nucleus. The nucleus is in the center of the animal cells, and it is a little bit pressed on the side in the plant cell, and it controls all the activities. It controls the types and the quantity of enzymes and activities that are taking place in the cell. So almost all the activities that take place in the cells are controlled by the nucleus. It controls cell division, that is the separation of the chromosomes and so on. It will control all the chemical changes that takes place in the cells, and it is the one that contains the genetic material of living organisms. That is the nucleus. Then we have the mitochondria. Mitochondria, we call it the powerhouse of the cell. It is the one which is responsible for the production of energy from the food substances. Therefore, it is also important, and it's part of the cell that provides the cells with energy. Then we have the cytoplasm. A cytoplasm is a site where great activities, chemical reactions take place. All chemical reactions take place in the cytoplasm, most of them, and it is also a site in some cells for food storage. And it's also where we find all the cell organelles, that is the cytoplasm. Then there are chloroplasts. Chloroplasts, these are green pigments that are found in plants, and they contain chlorophyll. And chloroplast, it is the site where photosynthesis takes place. Then we have the nuclear membrane. A nuclear membrane is the one that allows exchange of material between the nucleus and the cytoplasm. It separates the two entities, separates the nucleus, and then it also separates the cytoplasm from the nuclear content. So those are some of the main parts of the cells, and we have said that they has a cell membrane which allows the exchange of materials between the outside of the cell and in the inside of the cell. It binds the protoplasm. It is also acting as a protection membrane. We have looked at the nucleus, which controls all the activities in the cell, and it contains the genetic material. We have talked about the mitochondria, which is the powerhouse of the cell that produces energy from the food substances. And then we have talked of the cytoplasm being as the site where almost all chemical reactions take place, and in some cells it acts as a storage for food, and then it also contains all the cell organelles. We have talked of the chloroplast, where photosynthesis takes place, and it contains also chlorophyll, which is the green pigment. And then we have also talked of the nuclear membrane as the one which allows exchange of material between the nucleus and the cytoplasm, and it also separates the two entities. Now from that one we go to what we call the tissues. Tissues, these are cells of the same structure that come together and form tissues. Tissues are coming from cells of the same structure and the same function, which come together and they form the tissue. What we are trying to say is that a cell is a group of a tissue is a group of similar cells performing similar function. Then when tissues, two or more, come together, but are different tissues, when they come together, they end up forming an organ. An organ will combine with another organ, and they'll form a specific function, perform a specific function, then they form what we call a system. So having realized that tissues coming from cells of the same structure and same functions coming together and then forming a tissue, then the tissue, different tissues coming together and then forming what we call an organ, and then different organs come together and then they form what we call a system. So that's all about the cells. Cells are important. Thank you.